All right, welcome back. Back to the desktop and got my script started. I haven't done anything else. So, well, anyway, what we're going to do is go over here to the menu, and it should be right there under administration. This is something I use on a regular basis, so I'm going to go ahead and right-click on it and choose Add to Favorites. This is a Cinnamon 2.6 desktop I'm working with, by the way. Actually, give me just a second. I'll give you the exact information. Actually, just open that up. It is 2.6.13. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go right here. All right, so now that this is open, we're in our menu. We got it installed. File, go to Preferences. Make sure this path right here is to a valid path that you want to store your virtual machines in. I guess that's okay. The extensions, make sure the extension pack is in. And in here you can also configure your some of your inputs as far as key combinations to do specific tasks. I always check this off. I'll update it. I'll update it when I want to update it, not when it wants to be updated. And you can choose your language. You can change some of your display settings. You can change around some of your networks and add different adapters and that kind of thing. And of course, you can also enable a proxy server. If you use a proxy server, you can make this use the whole thing. But generally speaking, the one thing you want to do is make sure this is a valid path and make sure that any extensions are in here and you have them active. Okay, what else we got going on here? Network operation path. I don't know what you're wanting to do. You have an old 5.0. We'll do it later. I was complaining about the version. See, this is version 5.02 and I had version 5.00 in there. It's good enough for the video. Okay, so what we're going to do here is once you're done with that, if you have existing machines, you can click on machine and click add, and this will allow you to browse for them. That's the term I'm looking for. Add, and then you can just browse to whatever virtual machine files and it gets added over here to your library. Or you can create a new one, which is the same link as this button right here. Okay, here you can also import appliances, export a virtual media manager. There's a lot of stuff in here that I just don't even mess with, but there's other stuff in here I do. Virtual media manager, that's here, that displays the virtual media manager window. Oh yeah, this is where some of the excuse me, some of your optical drives and images can be stored at. Kind of find it kind of redundant, but that's okay. Anyway, we're going to create a new one here. And let's see, what can we do? Oh, let's do Debian. And it's going to be Jesse. So you just put the name, what type it is. It's usually automatically populated. I can't talk today either. I hope that's in a cup of coffee too. Anyway, it's automatically populated based on the name you type in here. Like if I were to type Windows, this automatically switches to Windows. If I type Solaris, it would automatically switch to Solaris. If I type FreeBSD, it switches to FreeBSD, which is really kind of cool. But if for some reason it doesn't, you can always just choose the drop-down box and pick which architecture and what you're installing here. So we're going to go to next, and this is where we can assign RAM. FreeBSD doesn't, or Debian doesn't really require a lot of RAM. Let's just run that up to an even gig. So 1024. So that rounds it up to a good gig. All right, next. And we're going to create the disk now since we haven't already created one. And I always choose VDI, and you can choose any of these other things here. There's other stuff that it'll do, like this one here's for QEMU, this one's for QEMU. What the difference is, I don't know. I don't use QEMU. Let's see here. You can do just install it to like your regular hard drives or whatever. We're just talking about the basics in this video, so we're just going to leave that as a default and click next. We do want to dynamically allocate, which is also the default setting. If we choose fixed size, this will automatically procure and resize the image to whatever disk size you have specified in the next screen. What we're going to do is just dynamically allocate. What that's going to do is it's going to grow as the image grows. So after you install, if let's say we get this 80 gigs and it after you install it only uses 500 megs. Well, the image is only going to be 500 megs in size and not the full 80 gigs. With fixed, it'll be 80 gigs all the time. So this allows you to save some drive space. Now there's a little caveat to that, is it doesn't shrink when the image shrinks. When it grows and it stays at its max. So if you end up installing a whole bunch of stuff, you get it up to like say 10 gigs, and then you start deleting stuff, that image is still going to stay at the 10 gig size. It's not going to come back down to the 500 meg. But it's still not the whole 80 gigs, so it still kind of works out best. So I'm going to click next, and now we get to assign how big the hard drive is going to be, which I'm just going to use the 80 gigs. Create. Alright, which will take you back to the screen right here. Over here on the left hand side, you can resize this if you want. Over here on the left hand side, you'll have a list of all of the virtual machines that you currently have configuration files for. Notice I say configuration files. This does not mean that, oh look, Debian's installed and you click start. That may or may not be the case. There's currently a configuration file for it, but the image itself isn't there. That's what we're about to do. Okay, so in here we go over some general information, like it's Debian 64-bit, and the name of the machine is Debian, which also appears in the center of the preview screen. The system's got a gig of RAM, it's got a floppy disk, is its boot order's floppy optical hard drive. We're using virtualization, nested paging, and KVM paravirtualization. I have problems saying that word sometimes, even when I'm sober. I'm just kidding. I'm sober now. Anyway, I'm gonna click on display, and in here you can change things about the display. Like I always max out the virtual memory. I'm currently using 2 monitors, so if I wanted to use VirtualBox on both monitors, I can move it to 2 monitors, which I do sometimes. It just depends on what the VirtualBox or what the virtual machine is for. You can change the scaling, enable 3D acceleration here. Just by placing this check mark in here, this does not enable PCI pass-through. So the 3D acceleration would be based on the abilities of the video driver in the guest edition driver pack, which is usually crap. But anywho, over here you can also enable a server and look at it remotely. You can record the screen, which I found that this really isn't all that impressive quality wise. It looks like you can play around with it though. Looks like they have changed a few things in 5. Excuse me. So we're going to go to storage here. And what I want to show you is these sections here line up with these sections over here. So if I wanted, I can click OK. It will close it. It'll save this window. Notice it changed this right here. Then I can click on storage, and it automatically takes me to the storage tab here. Or I can just leave this window open and do all of my settings at once, which is what I plan to do. And it's not there. It's in Scott, ISO, Unix, Debian. And I haven't installed Debian for a while, so we're just going to use this older version. It's still Jesse, no big deal. Actually, we'll just do that one right there. click open. And then click OK. And what that does is it's going to put your ISO image here as your CD-ROM. So now you have something to boot off of. You can change your audio controls, which I have never had them fail with the default settings. So I'd never touch it. And networking here, if you're okay with not connecting to your machine via SSH, you just leave it the way it is. However, if you need to remotely connect to your machine, or if you need it on the same subnet as your host machine, then change it to bridged adapter and make sure the proper Ethernet adapter is listed in the box. And you can have up to 4 different adapters. Serial ports I don't mess with. I thought serial ports had died a few decades ago. USB 2 or USB. As you can see, this will support 1.1, 2, and 3. I usually just leave it at 2. I don't use a whole bunch of stuff with USB. If you need to, say, have 3 support or whatever, you want a 3 controller, go ahead and do that. And you can also put some device filters down here. Shared folders, this is shared between the host machine and the guest machine, which I don't need to worry about. And also new in 5 is this interface here. You can go down and change out all the icons that will appear down here in the lower right hand corner once the machine is running. So that'll do it for this here. So we click OK. Let's see, we're at 12 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and break the video here, and then when we come back, we'll just go ahead and do a real quick setup on Debian here to show you how to install an operating system. Not specifically Debian, because the same basic steps work for all the operating systems. So I will see you in just a few seconds.